couldn't believe what I was seeing. A bulldozer. A massive, yellow, earth-scorching bulldozer was carving a straight line through the heart of my apple orchard, the one my grandfather planted 50 years ago. How could she, a woman I've known for less than 2 years, and who's a self-proclaimed expert on everything from landscaping to local governance, just do this? The main conflict started right there, with the roar of the engine and the sickening crunch of uprooted trees. It was her, of course. Her name was Brenda, but I'd taken to calling her Karen after a particularly memorable, high-pitched lecture she gave me about my unruly grass. I remember the scent. The sweet, sharp aroma of bruised apples filled the air, mingling with the acrid smell of fresh diesel. My stomach twisted into a knot. I walked towards her, my boots sinking into the churned-up earth. "Brenda, what in God's name are you doing?" I yelled over the noise. She just looked at me, her hands on her hips, a triumphant, almost smug smile on her face. "Relax, David. It's just a shortcut," she said, as if she were offering me a cup of sugar. "The cul-de-sac is too far from the main road. The neighborhood needs this." I was stunned into silence. The neighborhood? She meant her and the handful of her sycophantic friends. My heart hammered against my ribs, a dull, angry thud. "This is private property. Brenda, you can't just build a road through my land." I stammered, my voice cracking with disbelief. She rolled her eyes, a sigh escaping her lips like a deflating tire. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. It's an easement now. It's for the greater good." For the greater good? I swear, if I hadn't been so mad, I would have burst out laughing. I told her she had to stop. I told her I would call the police. I told her I would take her to court. She just shrugged, turned to the bulldozer operator, and with a wave of her hand, shooed him on. The sound of the engine seemed to mock me as I watched my livelihood, my family's legacy, being destroyed before my very eyes. Over the next few days, the shortcut was paved. It was a perfectly smooth, asphalt scar cutting through the gentle rows of apple trees. Neighbors, mostly her friends from the cul-de-sac, started using it. Every time a car drove down that road, I felt a shudder. The whoosh of the tires on the asphalt, the distant laughter from their cars, felt like a violation. I couldn't stand it. So, I took action. I hauled out some old, fallen trunks from a storm last year and piled them up, blocking both ends of her shortcut. I put up private property signs in all capital letters and painted a big, red X on each of them. "Take that, Brenda." My moment of triumph lasted exactly 2 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, a letter was delivered to my mailbox. It was a lawsuit. Brenda was suing me for obstructing a public right-of-way and seeking damages for emotional distress and loss of convenient access. My jaw dropped. I read the legal jargon twice, 3 times, my mind reeling. She was a Karen, through and through, but this was a whole new level of audacity. The gall. She bulldozed my orchard, then sued me when I blocked her illegal road. I felt the hot flush of anger surge through me, pure, unadulterated rage. I threw the letter on the kitchen counter, my hands shaking. This was a war, and it was one I was going to win. I called my lawyer, a close family friend named Mike who had a reputation for being quiet but deadly in the courtroom. I was expecting him to be shocked, but he just chuckled softly. "Oh, this is rich. Don't worry, David. Just sit tight and let her dig her own grave. We're going to use her own words against her." I didn't know what he meant, but I trusted him. The court date arrived. Brenda was there, in a crisp white pantsuit and a triumphant smirk, surrounded by her small group of supporters. She looked at me as if I were a common criminal. Her lawyer, a slick man with a perpetually condescending expression, presented her case first, painting a picture of a benevolent neighbor building a helpful community asset, only to have it maliciously and selfishly blocked by a stubborn recluse. Brenda testified, her voice dripping with self-pity, talking about her vision for the neighborhood and how my unneighborly behavior had caused her immense stress. I just sat there, my hands clasped, trying to control my breathing. Then it was my turn. My lawyer got up. He didn't use any fancy words. He just asked me simple questions, leading me to tell my side of the story. I talked about my grandfather, about the trees, about the quiet peace that had been so violently disturbed. The air in the courtroom felt thick, a heavy silence hanging over us. Mike didn't call Brenda to the stand. He didn't need to. He just pulled out a large, manila envelope. "Your Honor," he said, his voice calm, "I would like to submit Exhibit A. This is a certified copy of the original land deed for the plaintiff's property." The courtroom stirred. I was confused. Why her deed? He held it up, a document yellowed with age. "Your Honor and Counsel, please note the date of this document, 1968. It states that the parcel of land sold to the original owner of Ms. Brenda's property parcel that abuts the corner of Mr. David's property was sold with a specific covenant." He paused, looking directly at Brenda. She looked bewildered, her smug expression starting to crack. "That covenant," Mike continued, his voice rising just enough to command the room, "states that any landowner attempting to create a new road or easement across Mr. David's property, which has been designated a heritage orchard, would be subject to a fine of $50,000 per occurrence, and full financial responsibility for all damages to the property." The silence that followed was deafening. My own breath hitched. I didn't know about this. It was a family secret, something my grandfather had set up decades ago to protect the land. Brenda's face went from pale to ashen. The smirk was gone. Her lawyer was frantically flipping through his own copy of the deed, his eyes wide with a silent terror. He hadn't done his due diligence. Brenda, in her arrogant rush to build her shortcut, hadn't checked the covenants on her own property. She had done it. She had built a road, and the road, as it turned out, was the single most expensive mistake of her life. The judge looked at Brenda, a grim set to his jaw. "Ms. Brenda," he said, "did you have a survey done before commencing construction?" She just shook her head slowly, a single tear rolling down her cheek. The justice was swift. The judge ruled in my favor, awarding me not only the damages for the destroyed trees and my legal fees, but also the $50,000 fine. Cold, hard slap of karma that she couldn't outtalk or sue her way out of. I walked out of that courtroom, not with a feeling of victory, but with a deep, settling peace. I drove home and stood in my orchard, the smell of fresh earth in the air. The asphalt scar was still there, but now it was a monument to a foolishness that had no place in this world. It was a reminder that entitlement can pave over a lot of things, but it can never pave over the truth. You can't just build a road through someone's life and expect to get away with it.